Hello, my friends of Unspoken Podcast. Welcome to a new episode. And today is a little bit weird that I'm sitting here sharing the seats with these amazing people. Welcome, guys.
Hello, hello.
And also, who are you?
I'm the one always behind the cameras, but today I'm a guest of this amazing podcast.
No, we are very glad to have you today also with us. I mean, Andy's been always behind the cameras. He's been the mastermind.
He has like the biggest role in this whole project. Yes. You never see him, guys. So finally, get to know him a little.
Yes. And we need to produce this one because it's very good that we are the three of us speaking. And today we have a very, very hot topic because we have, you never had the opportunity, but we have Miss Finland. And Paula is being, of course, with me hosting this podcast, but as a host, it's a different role. But now, as a guest, we also think about you never had a chance, and not in every country had a chance to have a Miss, with you who has represent your country. And, to be Miss Finland, I think, is not a small thing, in my opinion.
It's not.
It's not. And then you have been also in Miss Universe.
Yes.
Miss Universe, it was, especially in the contest, it was in 2023.
And it was in your home country
of
El Salvador.
It was in El Salvador after, 60, 50 years, I don't remember, or 30 years, what it was, when Finland won.
Yes.
During that time, and then it went back to 2023, back to San Salvador, which is my hometown. But then again, you were there, and this is the reason why Paula and me will start talking, because I saw Miss Finland in El Salvador.
And speaking Spanish as well.
Wow. But the experience in El Salvador, in that contest, I really want to know in depth, and all that experience about the contest, how it was.
So I think I have to start by saying that, when you see me on the media, on Instagram, it looks like a lot of glitz and glam and a lot of the high life, but it was the toughest year of my life. Happiest year of my life, but physically, mentally, definitely one of the toughest years in my life, where I was always very tired because it was a lot of work. I remember when I won Miss Finland in September, I had 1.5 months to my departure to El Salvador. And I remember that 1.5 months was a lot of press. I was giving interviews every day, shoots, every day there and there, running from an event to another. And then when I sat on the plane to El Salvador, I was so tired. I remember, my journey started with me being tired. And I think that was something that really hit me, is because I had always followed, Miss Finland, Misses from other countries. My boyfriend is Venezuelan, so I was always following Miss Venezuela. And it looks like the best job in the world, the easiest job in the world. You just get to look pretty and walk around and people love you. It's not the case.
I don't believe
not at
it's
all.
the case.
Yeah. I can imagine that it's very tight schedules for everything, since you step on the plane until you come back to your own country. I can imagine.
I want to ask, very first thing is to be a Miss, and to be treated as a Miss. People expect something from you also, and the cameras are on you, and phones are on you, and people expect something nice from you all the time. It's a lot of pressure, right?
It's pressure, especially in Finland. I felt like a lot of the, let's say, trash media, they were expecting me to make a mistake. For example, I have to say, 2 weeks after I won Miss Finland, I went out to party with my friends and I puked at the club into a glass. And the next day they had written something about that in Seiska. So obviously someone had seen it and sent juttuvinki. We have you send a tip to the media.
Yeah.
Oh, this had happened. And obviously, okay, I'm not proud of that. That definitely doesn't happen often.
Oh.
But it was something, I had just won Miss Finland. I wanted to party. I hadn't had the time, and I went to party, and I hadn't drank in half a year. So my tolerance was not very good.
Oh.
Yeah, but you're a normal person. I mean, that can happen to anybody. I mean, you have right to also celebrate.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
also, for example, we have this said in Latin America that you're in the eye of the hurricane
Yeah.
because you're in the all the media attention right there in front of you, and if you know made a slightly mistake, just boom.
Exactly.
That's true. And like, for example, I went to the J Balvin concert, and I remember my friends wanted to go to see him like in the front.
Yeah.
And I remember they made like a line, and we were going but through the side to the front of the stage. And I remember the next day on Jodel was like, oh my god, Miss Finland, such a rude person, going through the group of people.
Wow.
And that was something that literally everyone did there. Because obviously you want to go to the front, right?
Of course.
And I get it. It's rude, but you don't say anything like that to any of the other people. It's only me because I have some kind of
Visibility.
value.
Yeah.
And we are talking about the J Balvin concert in Helsinki.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Exactly.
I think
So-
I read something about.
Oh, okay. So honestly, like I had to kind of learn it a little bit in a difficult way, because it had been things that were okay for me before I won Miss Finland, and then all of a sudden it was like every little thing I was doing was being criticized. Anything I posted on Instagram, anything I posted on TikTok, everything I did was somehow criticized. It was
Yeah.
either not classy enough. It was either rude to some person. I remember posting that I know, like, my father's name is Pekka. My father is 74 years old. As you may know, Pekka is typically a name for an older person in Finland. It's not a very common name for young people. And I had posted like, basically alluding that Pekka is an older name. And I got like, oh my god, you can't say that. What about all the young Pekkas? Now they will be hurt. And I'm like,
Oh my God! Well, it's
we-
a never-ending story,
Yeah.
Like,
But it's
once
also when
you-
you have been in the media spot. I mean,
Yes.
it's always a backlash that you can get, right?
Yeah.
Exactly what I was
Yeah.
about to say. Like, if you are in a media space spectrum, you always get hate. You get hate. There's always haters.
I get that, but I also understand it, because when there's eyes on me, they obviously have a higher expectation on the way I behave, and I understand that, and I think that took a while for me to really grasp that I do have to also be a role model for the younger people. Like throwing up in a cup is probably not the greatest role model for some young girls that are following me, right? But on the other hand, it is real life, because I know, like, at Miss Universe, I'm sorry, but a lot of the girls were using substances.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking only about alcohol. I only use
Yeah.
alcohol. And if I lie and hide and pretend I don't drink alcohol, is that a good thing either? Like, is that showing a real version of me? When there's misses that use drugs, and then they are like, oh, they never get caught, and they pretend to be like the saint.
We go moving, of course, to this Miss Universe now that you mention, and this is also one of the hot topics because you represent Finland and Miss Universe, and that's a big thing. That's a life experience, I will call it. It won't ever happen again to anybody, and I think it happens only once.
Yeah.
I would like to know more, like, what was it for you to be in that spot, especially with the media, the local media in El Salvador is one, but then the whole international media is covering Miss Universe all around the world, all languages. There's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know how you process that, because there was a pre-media already checking who are the
Yes.
misses.
Before we even arrived.
But
Exactly.
But I really want to know from the very beginning before
Yeah.
we get into that, because it's a very interesting.
Yeah.
I really want to know what how do you feel at the moment? How was your reaction at the moment? You're at the contest, all the expectations are there, and then your names pop up as a Miss Suomi. I want to know the reaction.
I did not expect to win.
Really?
Yeah. My very firm belief was that I'm going to be the first runner-up. That is something I had in my head. So obviously before the actual Miss Finland final, we have a tour that goes on for 3 weeks. And those 3 weeks, I was 100% sure that I was going to be the first runner-up. I don't know why. There was one girl that I really felt was gonna win. And I also like saw like, oh, maybe the organization is favoring her. Maybe she gets the better dress. You know, I was like thinking too much, and I was creating these scenarios in my head. Like, okay, she's gonna win. But I was confident. I knew I was still gonna do well. But so when they told my name and they didn't tell the name of the other girl, I was super shocked. So
Wow.
Is that reaction in YouTube or somewhere?
It is, yeah.
It is. Okay, we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
gonna use
We
it.
have to watch it. We have to watch it. We have to
It's-
watch
I
it.
have like the biggest double chin because I was like, and actually it was such a sweet moment because my roommate, or the girl that was my roommate for most of the tour, we became quite good friends, and she was the one holding hands with me. That reaction went around the internet because she started jumping. She was like so happy for me.
Oh,
That's nice.
That's not a given reaction.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of videos from other countries where they look visibly pissed.
Yeah, I
So that was
understand.
something that really, really I was very thankful for, Serena.
Yes.
If you're looking at this, I love you.
Oh.
And I miss you. She lives in Switzerland.
We love
right
you.
now. She just had a baby, so
Wow.
incredible.
Greetings to her. But I was wanted to say that, so when you got to know that you are Miss Finland, then you were right there. Did something fell in your heart? Was it something in your mind? You couldn't understand what was happening?
It was a blur.
Because also, you know, the
Yeah.
responsibility to represent a country.
Exactly. I was no longer just Paula. I was Finland. You know?
Exactly.
In front of the world. So I had this like heaviness on my shoulders, like the weight that, okay, I'm not only Paula. In fact, most people don't even know my name. They just call me Finland at Miss Universe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When the fans
Yeah, yeah.
see me, they scream Finland. You know, they don't scream Paula. So it was definitely a lot of pressure. Obviously, at that point, the media was on me. The eyes were on me. I was starting to get recognized. It was like a sudden fame that happened overnight. You know, before that, I was a nobody. Suddenly, I was Miss Finland. And it was definitely a big change. And I must say that year, for me, is almost like a blur. It went so fast. It took me months to even accept the fact that I was Miss Finland. Because also, during the tour that we had, I thought I was going to lose. So I had to first come to terms with the fact that I won. And then work. So I never really had a proper chance to slow down and be like, hey,
It was
I'm
most.
Miss Finland.
It was more like internal work
Yeah.
to change the mindset from the that say I will not be Miss Finland, then become to Miss Finland,
Exactly.
and then all the weight in your shoulders representing your
Yeah, I
country.
mean,
Whoa.
it's a process, you know. You didn't even have time to do that.
I'm
It
already
happened-
stressed.
It
I'm
happened in
already
one
stressed.
day, and then the next day you have interviews and
Yeah.
this and preparations and
It
all
was
that kind of
a
stuff.
huge change to my lifestyle for sure. I went from being a normal law student to all of a sudden, Miss Finland. And the craziest part was that when I went to Miss Universe in El Salvador, I felt like I was Michael Jackson. In the way that when we were walking, or Messi, I don't know, either one, either like king of the world. When I was walking there, people were crying. Like they would be like this, trying to touch me. There were like these fences where I was walking and where the fans were, and they were touching and crying. Like,
wow.
Finland. Like, I was like a god.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
This
Sounds
happened
scary.
in El
In
Salvador,
El Salvador,
when you
exactly,
arrived.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was every day like that. It was when I came to the hotel breakfast. I went down the lift with I had someone always walking behind me, like security.
Yeah.
Well,
Always.
Well, the media attention in South America in general, if you come from abroad, it's called the attention right away just for the appearances. But now imagine also then all the things
Yeah.
behind, like Miss Finland. And I believe that in Salvador is a huge amount of attention for this kind of beauty contest, right?
It was
Yeah.
big. It was big because especially El Salvador hasn't organized it for a long time, and also the whole country organized the country for it.
Yeah.
So they built the venue for it.
Yeah,
They,
it was a huge monetary investment.
Exactly.
For
Yeah,
them.
There were a
definitely.
lot of critics about it also, that why invest in 200 million in these kind of events and a lot of touristic things. But it also is something that the government wanted to do to highlight also tourism, etc. And also because you don't have a chance to hold
And
Miss
also
Miss
because
Universe.
El Salvador had just had a political change, a
Exactly.
change in the level of safety, a huge era of just change in El
Yeah.
Salvador. So I feel like having that Miss Universe there was like a symbol of new El Salvador.
Yeah, a new hope, a new country, a new
Exactly.
life. Everything.
Right at that
It's
moment.
giving me the chills,
Chills.
because it was seeing the people there talking to the locals and hearing like, yeah, 5 years ago I was not even able to go out with my kids to the park because they were scared of
Incredible.
Yeah.
being killed.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a sad situation. But let's go forward with this Miss Universe. How do you feel when you are a Miss and you are among all these? How many contestants? 120?
There, I think my year was like 85.
85, yes.
Countries.
That's
Participating,
represented. So
yeah.
when you are among that amount of women, beautiful women, I believe, in the world, they all represent their own cultures and all that. How does it feel to be a Miss? Literally. You are treated, how they look.
Yeah.
Everybody walks similar, everybody eats like with this kind of style, like, I drink my coffee like this, or how does it go?
I was very surprised at how normal everyone was. Like, I feel like a lot of the stereotypes that I, for example, faced, I had some person tell me, like, because I had broken my nail, and I was like, oh, whatever. And the guy was like, I thought as a miss, you're supposed to get like go crazy and like, oh my God, I broke my nail and have a breakdown, Like, we're such normal people there at the end of the day. We all have our lives in our home country. Some of them came from very poor backgrounds. I have my life here. I'm a normal person in Finland. I don't think, I think coming there, I must also say, I'm gonna sound a little rude, but the amount of Facetune a lot of countries there use is like, I was looking at them online before coming to the venue or to El Salvador, and I was like, I'm gonna look so ugly next to them. But then when I came there, I was seeing them without the Facetune, and I realized they're
All the
normal
production,
women.
yeah.
They're normal women just like us. Yes, of course, they are objectively very, very, very beautiful, but it's not something that is unattainable or something so unrealistic that they think. Like, I would never put those women in a godly position personally.
Right. But as a woman, when you are there among beautiful women, right, did you feel as beautiful as them?
I did. And that's
Yes.
what I was very surprised about, because going there and seeing like Miss Venezuela, that has huge hype around them, Miss Thailand, even El Salvador, who did very well that year, and seeing them, on their Instagram with like photographers, huge Photoshop, I was scared. I was like, dude, I'm gonna look like a normal, like, countryside chick next to them. But it wasn't the fact, there I saw them without makeup. I saw them the way they interact with others. I saw them as normal humans. And I must say, I honestly felt pretty next to them. Not prettier than anyone, but
At the level.
I still felt pretty.
Yeah, at
I
the
still-
level.
Yeah.
At the level that is
You know,
needed.
like,
I need to say this because I'm not a huge user or fan of the beauty contest at all. I mean, I think this is in Ecuador. Of course, we have always a contest there.
It's a big thing there.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I mean, for me personally, it wasn't. But I saw a couple of the beauty contests, and me and my friends, for example, we always wait until Denmark, Finland, and all the Nordic countries appear because they were the most beautiful. We are so used to get the normal beauty from South America, so we
Yeah.
always look at the girls of Salvador, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Argentina, and those. But we always wait for the Denmark and Finland
The
and
Nordic
Sweden.
looks, yes.
But that's so funny because like you're someone from outside of that world looking at it, but in the world of contests like pageantry, those countries are very looked down upon. Like when Finland or Sweden or Norway or Denmark come, they're like
There come these pale girls.
but the pale girls and I would say generally, as a lot of us know, probably in Latin America, the plastic surgery is way more appreciated and also accepted. Here, I don't think I've ever seen a Miss Finland who has very visible anything done. Whereas in Venezuela, Colombia,
Yes,
It's
yes.
obvious.
Yes,
They-
it's obvious.
They were perfected clinically.
Yeah.
they have their ribs removed.
What?
They have their teeth removed from the back. You know, obviously basic things are.
And those
are
are
nose
allowed in the
job.
contest?
Yeah. They're
Really?
allowed, yeah.
It is. It is. It is.
But that's cheating.
In a way, yes. In a way,
It's
yes.
cheating, but not really because it's allowed in the,
No.
in the rules. But what I do agree with is that, for example, in Finland, there used to be this competition called Miss Elovena, and there you were not allowed to have anything, like you were not even allowed to have lash extensions. Like it was very,
As natural
Strict.
as possible.
Yeah.
so I wouldn't be against that, honestly, because for me, I mean, I'm biased, but I think that Scandinavian women are incredibly beautiful. But obviously, as in our country, just the style, the trend is not the same as in Latin America.
Yeah.
It's very hard, I feel like, to compare the two beauties because obviously for me, like Latin American
Yeah.
women are incredibly beautiful. Like you can't deny that.
Well, it is.
But it's
Yeah.
different types of beauty.
Different type,
And I
yeah.
feel like historically, that kind of beauty from Latin countries, Asian countries has been more appreciated in that competition.
I want to say this, that, for example, like when you think about a Miss or a model or, celebrity in that way, there is some kind of level or dimension what differentiates a normal person from them, right? And I think that in that way, you always see something, it looks different, much more fresh, shiny. There's a lot of color or there's no color. At all. There's blonde hair or there's dark hair. It depends on the persons, of course. But I always will say this, that celebrities or all the media persons, faces that you see, misses are part of that group. And then when you are in there and they're like representing a country among the others, which is a big thing, you have to feel this confident. Did you feel confident all the time? Or did you sometimes felt that, oh my God, I need to do more? Do I need to do more effort? Do I eat less? Or do I put this? Or do I do that? Or what do you...
I did feel that way for sure. For example, my Miss Finland year, I was very strict about not going into losing weight because I have a history with anorexia and I did not want to risk my health. Like as much as I obviously wanted to do well at Miss Universe, I knew that whatever that would not be worth it for me if I lost my health again, So I definitely do think that was something that definitely affected me negatively, being bigger sized than the others. And even saying that to me is ridiculous because I was still skinny.
I mean, bigger size. I mean, what are you
Exactly.
talking about?
But that's the sad part. That's the sad part is that I was bigger sized.
But once you get the position to be a Miss Finland, I'm pretty sure you have a team behind you working with you, just like a nutrition, nothing.
No,
It was
we didn't
just
have
you?
nutrition. No, we don't
A
have
psychologist,
nutritionists.
let's say.
I did get some psychological help, yeah, to prepare myself. I took up coaching for like walking, I had a stylist. So I did have a team. But for example, yeah, nutrition, no. But that is also something that comes from the Finnish culture where here is not a big thing to be like this. And honestly, I appreciate that, at least in everyday life, because I come from a Russian background where anorexia is one of the most common diseases women have because it's so ingrained in our culture that you have to be skinny. And if as a woman you're not skinny enough, you're not good for a man. You're not, they will look at you and they will be like, oh, she has no self-control.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that Finland is not that way.
Yeah. It's more acceptable to be who you
Exactly.
are. Yeah.
However, in the world of pageantry, is a different thing.
Yeah.
And I love about that exact thing about Finland, that it accepts the people how it
As
is.
we are,
Yes,
exactly.
exactly.
But that's something that unfortunately the Miss Universe organization does not value the same way that we Finns do. But I also must say, talking about like, hypocrisy and these kind of things that I felt a little bit of Miss Universe was, for example, I had made a charity project. So I was teaching Ukrainian kids to speak Finnish because a lot of them spoke in Russian and I speak Russian. So I was teaching them pro bono in Finnish. And that was my project. That was something I was very proud of. That was right after the Ukraine war started. And that was something that they wanted every contestant to do at Miss Universe.
Social work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Social,
nice.
exactly. And I came there and I started asking people like, oh, what is your social work? It was social work that was made up by the national organization. The girls themselves, a lot of them hadn't even done anything themselves.
Nada. Nothing.
It was just like, now we look very good, we look very ethical, but we haven't done anything ourselves. I thought that was
I think that's what happened,
insane.
for example, in Ecuador. They just go like say, yeah, today we deliver like 20,000 toys for these kids that they don't have a home. But they just go there, take a picture, say it in media.
Exactly.
But what the actual work do is the organization or the country or the local
Yeah,
authorities.
and I was doing everything by myself. I was truly going to people's homes
Wow.
to teach them, all in Finland, for example, when you compete for Miss Finland, you have to have a project. You always do a project. Is something that we value a lot. Like here we actually do things. Our organization does charity work. So I thought that was extremely hypocritical and very discouraging also.
Yeah, of course, because you are doing the work itself
Yeah.
as it is. Let's move on with the Miss Universe. I want to again go back to that. How did it feel to be on that stage? I know El Salvador invested a lot in that stage. It was beautiful. It was like, screens from the floor and to the top of the,
It was incredible.
of the building. It was beautiful.
David got a call of Bukele and said, yeah, we're organizing this.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the whole country, we were following a lot because of that. But how did it feel to do that in that kind of stage with that kind of people in there?
My year had 300 plus million viewers.
Wow. So huge.
This is including television views and the live watchers. More than 300 million viewers.
That's
Incredible.
amazing.
Is incredible, and it's something that when you get on that stage and you have that in the back of your mind, like 300 million people are watching me, but because it's such a huge number, you don't even realize how much that is. Like for me, I must say that when I go to law school and I have to have a presentation in front of like 5 people, I'm shitting my pants. But when I go in front of 300 million people, I felt so free. It was like I was in this, on cloud 9. I was somewhere in the clouds.
Yeah.
It's something that doesn't even feel real. So in no point I felt anxious. In no point I felt like, super nervous. It was just getting on that stage and it was like I was looking at myself from another perspective, It was like I was looking down at me. It was surreal.
Well, people say that there is a, like a exercise that when you are nervous in front of a camera or in a stage, you imagine everybody naked. 300 million people naked. Okay.
I did not do that. Just letting you know, I did not do that.
But
Okay,
I
good.
want to say that when you have your walk, right, and you have your walk like, Miss Finland, they shout always, right? And then you go, How does it feel that the whole attention is on you?
300 million people.
It's
Exactly.
radiating.
But that's what I said. Like, there's 300 million people. You don't even realize. Like, it's like when I was looking at the
Crowd.
audience, it was just a big blob of.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
get all
you-
the spotlights. You cannot
and
even see them.
Exactly. I barely, because there's so many lights, I barely see it.
Yeah.
So I don't even realize how center of attention I am. I'm just walking, seeing a blob of random people. I don't know. Like,
What are your thoughts exactly in that moment that you are giving the steps?
But
Are you
it's-
thinking I
it's-
should not fall down?
You're
or what?
concentrated.
you know what? I've heard that a lot. Because
Yeah.
honestly, I was scared. What if I'm going to fall? Like, it's just slippery. And some girls, they did trip. They did trip. And it was something that I was a bit scared of. Because imagine if you fall in front of 300 million people, you know you're going to be bullied online for the rest of your life.
memes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I feel like I was, like, there was nothing going on in my brain as usual.
Okay.
You were automatic. You were going
Switch
for
off.
it.
Yeah.
Did
That's
you
it.
say Miss Finland or what did you say? Yeah, you said
Yeah,
like that,
we
right?
have the scream of Miss Finland, and then we do a round of bikini, a round in the evening gown, and then we do the national costume.
Is it uncomfortable to be in bikini in front of 300 million people?
No, actually, I had a like full body suit, kind of a swimsuit. I felt very comfortable. I'm not hugely comfortable in wearing bikinis. I don't post them on Instagram. I don't like that. But a full like suit bikini, I felt okay, honestly. I felt pretty confident. So it did not bother me. I honestly felt like it was pretty, you know, sometimes the criticism towards Miss competitions is like, oh, a woman in a bikini, like she's showing off her men attention, you know, like is that degrading? No, I've honestly never felt so empowered. Like I was there with 80 plus incredible women. There were engineers, doctors,
Yeah.
me as a law student, so many like nurses, incredible smart people, and we were there showing like female power. And can you tell me another event like that where it's all about women and what women can do and what like how sexy we are, how incredible,
Beauty.
yeah, like poderoso, like that we can do anything powerful.
Yeah.
Like,
Poderoso, papi.
yes,
Yes.
exactly, the line coming out of me. But you know, like there is nothing that I will ever experience that will be as empowering as that.
I have to tell you this. It's a privilege to share this podcast with you. Really, I have to
you.
tell this because
Likewise.
personally, like I would never think in my life I would be sharing hosting some program with a Miss. And I not even from my own country, you know. But then I met you. You're a really real person. You have to know that Paula is for real. Yeah, I want to tell to all the
Thank
viewers and listeners because
And so is David.
yeah, it's really nice to also get to know you, but also like to transmit this because I think you will have this story about Miss Finland and Miss Universe all your life,
All my life.
all your
And
life.
I'm crying with this. With this.
with these sweet words.
Yes.
No.
But for sure, I'm and this is something that I also spoke about on my TikTok. I was making a video of me being half Russian in this time of the world where it's not easy being Russian for a reason. And I won Miss Finland in 2023. So right basically after the Ukraine war started, it was a lot of eyes on any Russian in Finland. And I always said like I was so thankful to the organization of like Miss Finland that it was fair, you know? I bet in a lot of other countries, if a person who has the nationality of a country that they hate, let's say, they would make sure that that person doesn't win. So it's something that I felt I was in such a warm place where I was accepted, and through anything that I am, maybe politically, maybe nationality-wise, they saw in me what I'm actually good at, what are my strengths, and they saw what I can be in the future.
Wow.
So it honestly, this journey meant so much to me, and it's definitely the best experience of my life.
Amazing.
Really
Amazing.
nice to
And it
hear.
looks like you have fun, you were there, and you really had the experience, and it's unforgettable, and you will share it with your loved ones, pretty sure. all your life.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the moment I can tell to my grandkids.
I also think also that the history, when you don't meet people who make history, is not so common. And then when somebody will meet you, will always have this that you make history, right? You represent Finland. It's a big thing. You will be in the books, in the pictures. You always will be remembered as beautiful as you were in that moment.
And I hope also as I don't know, as intelligent, as educated.
Of course.
Yeah.
Things other than obviously outer beauty. I
Yes.
feel like that's something that I'm also very proud of. All the things that I do, as a student of law, as an ex-professional tennis player, there's so much to me that I want to be also remembered as not just a pretty face.
Exactly.
That's
And this is
amazing.
exactly the thing I wanted to say, that not all beautiful women are stupid, because many people
No, not
always
at
brand this that, blondes are stupid and this and that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jokes about it, we all know, but it's also very diminishing for women,
Of course.
you know.
Of course, and that is, I feel like, what actually pageantry comes down to. Like I said, literally at Miss Universe, there was a woman who creates fake limbs for amputees. Like, she's an engineer for those limbs, and I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. She's
Yeah.
not only beautiful, but she's so incredible. She's like Einstein level smart,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the beauty of being a woman.
That's amazing. Hey, but before we go, because we are very tight with the time,
Yes.
we talked a little bit before we start this podcast and before we started recording about some things at that week when you were there and you have to cohabitate with the other misses, with the other countries. I want to know that experience. If you get friends, something crazy happen, a lot of stories there. All the women, all the most beautiful women in the world
hot topic,
in the
hot topic.
same hotel.
Oh
So I
my
really want to
God.
know.
Toilets were always busy, I guess. Always busy.
I mean, we had our own rooms, thankfully, so you can
Yeah.
always go to the room to the bathroom. But I would say, so my experience was very neutral. I think I'm a pretty calm person, so I didn't really have a lot of any drama at all, actually. And I feel like a lot of that also comes down to Finland not being the number one potential winner, because, as I said, it usually goes down to Latin America and to Asia. That's the kind of powerhouses. But there was a lot of, especially after the competition, the girls from some countries started giving out interviews, talking shit about each other.
Ooh.
All the drama. There was definitely some drama between others.
Mostly Latin American countries, I'm pretty sure. There's where the drama happens.
Actually, that's what I was thinking. That maybe, but I feel like it's also because in Latin America, it's honestly like that's their whole career forever. So it is also very important for them to actually win. But there's crazy things. Something that really stuck in my mind was on the last day. So after the winner had been announced, the final, and we had an after party, and there was this girl that had a bit of a crazy reputation. The fans didn't love her because she would never say hi to them. She was kind of like in her own bubble. And the last night she started drinking, and she went to one of the contestants with some guy that she had met, and she was like, in front of everyone, she was like, let's go have a threesome.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So if you had like a picture of misses that, they're perfect, they live in this like super like princessy world, that's not the truth.
Okay.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah. They own. Everybody have their own things, And
Exactly.
imagine with a little bit, if you put a little bit of alcohol in that.
Just to spike life.
Yes.
Boom.
I mean, there was drug use that I witnessed as well. It was a lot of things that were very shocking for me that I did not expect about that word at all. Not to talk about also the corruption that, is rumored in a lot of countries. Oh, this one, a lot of rumors, for example, of a girl having a relation with the national director of their country, and or having, sugar daddies and stuff like that. So I feel like there is a lot of things that are a bit questionable which was a big surprise for me, coming from this sweet little Finland where everything is super fair and
Well,
like.
well.
Then you
I mean,
found the actual
I
world.
found the
Okay.
actual word, but the thing is, in Miss Finland, like I never experienced anything that was like, phew, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah,
Obviously, it's a competition between girls.
Did you make
Girls are
friends?
gonna be. I did. I have one of my very best friends is from Miss Finland. Um, I have a couple more that are very close.
From the Miss
friends.
Universe, I mean.
Miss Universe. I wouldn't say that I made very long-term friends. I actually met last year. I went to Spain and I met Miss España there. But really, I don't think many that really stuck. Miss Iceland was my roommate, and if I go to Iceland,
Miss what?
Iceland.
Iceland.
If
Okay.
I go to Iceland, I'm sure gonna text her.
Hmm.
If I go to like everyone is a friend on the level where if I go to their country, we can text.
You
if
will
they
get in
come
touch.
here,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say because I've seen some, especially European girls, they see each other in Europe, like they go
Right.
to each other's countries. So that hasn't happened with me for sure, but also like I wouldn't have the money to travel every week to see
Yes,
someone.
yes. It's
But
different.
but
yeah.
you know, I didn't come out of that experience with any haters.
Yeah.
So.
I say one last thing before we wrap up this episode is that if a guy wants to date a miss, what he has to do. This is every man's question. They want to
Tough.
date a beautiful woman, but to date a miss, that's on another level. That's a very hard. I don't know how they do it, how they get to meet them, how this happens. Just in a short way.
Okay, I feel like the biggest problem with men approaching Miss or any even just very objectively beautiful women is that a lot of times you can tell from the man that he doesn't think highly of himself. He doesn't think highly enough of himself. He thinks that he's not enough for this girl. And I feel like that's the problem because like even talking to the girls from Miss Universe and them showing their boyfriends, a lot of their boyfriends are normal people. They're not celebrities. They're not models, I feel like even if you are just like a normal, person, you're not a celebrity, you're nothing special in that way. But if you have that confidence and those guts to, okay, I want to come up to you and I want to talk to you, but also not only because you're a miss. So I feel like confidence is the key. Exactly. Because it's very unattractive to be able to tell from the man that he looks very he looks at you like this, like,
Goddess.
yeah. I feel like just coming up to him as a normal person, as any other, is the key.
Yeah.
So that means that for all the men who are watching, they have to understand is that, even as beautiful as the woman is, just treat her fairly,
Exactly.
as a person. Because sometimes I think people get very nervous, and then they are very, oh my God, this woman,
Totally. If you have a media attention, let's say, even though you are not a miss, you are like, let's say, a host in some
Yeah.
show that is famous in
Yeah.
every country, let's say. There is people that it has this like a fear a little bit to approach or talk or just ask for a picture or something.
Yes.
I felt that. Like, obviously, I've been in a relationship for a long time, but I have definitely felt like, if I was somewhere and maybe the guy doesn't know that I'm in a relationship and he wants to ask me out. That happens, every once in a while. And I can just tell that they are like, oh, maybe I could take you for a coffee. So obviously I tell them, sorry, I have a boyfriend. But even if I was single and I saw them come up to me like super scared, kind of too humble, maybe not, they don't think highly enough of themselves,
Yeah.
I wouldn't go on a date.
Yeah.
No, I
definitely.
mean-
So be confident, guys.
Exactly. That's
Be
the
confident.
key.
That's the key of
Yes.
everything. I think everything, everywhere. Not only to dating. I think need to be confident for everything
Everything
in life.
in life, exactly. And fake it till you make it, honestly.
Oh, whoa, well, that's a good advice. I was just thinking a lot about like that, like what is the first impression we do when we meet somebody, even if it's a celebrity or not, media person or not, right? This is always interesting. I really like this, but I also have to say that it's been a pleasure to do this podcast with you.
Thank you,
And
with
also
both of
Andy.
you.
And Andy, thank you so much.
These
also.
guys are awesome and extremely talented in what they do. I don't know what I would be doing without you guys. Definitely not this podcast. Okay, but thank you so much, guys. Thank you for listening to our podcast, and I think we all hope that you've enjoyed it so far, and see you in our next season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
See you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Ciao.